Hey guys, I'm doing another Q&A video for, I guess, what is it, 23,000 subscribers. Are you guys tired of these Q&As yet? I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy them. I like to see all the creative questions that people ask me. But anyway, let's just go ahead and dive right into it. First question is, what is your favorite ball sport? I probably have to say basketball. It would have been baseball in my younger years, but now I've really gotten more into basketball. Best fried dish. I love fried food so much. I eat a lot of it. Contrary to popular belief, I eat a lot of fried food. I like to eat. I would say maybe off the top of my head, you can't go wrong with just like some really good fried chicken. I'm from the South, so like I know a lot of really good fried chicken, especially if it's like Cajun inspired. It's got like Louisiana spice, or like Nashville chicken is really good. Or you can't go wrong with just some plain fried chicken. But honestly, I love hot wings. I am such a hot wings fan. I never knew that it would be something I would be so interested in, but yeah, I might actually say hot wings. What film or filmmaker has your opinion changed the most on since you started doing movie reviews? Anything or anyone you started out loving and now think is crap, or vice versa? If so, what changed for you and why? Well, it's hard for me to know that because I don't go back and watch my old reviews. So I have no idea about a lot of what I've said in the past, but I will say there's one thing that does stick out to me just off the top of my head, though I'm sure there are much better examples of this. But I do remember being young, starting out on YouTube and just praising Tarantino like he was, like Jesus or something. But that's typical. I was like, 19 years old, and Tarantino becomes someone that people tend to idolize, especially around let's say, age 15 through 27, maybe 24. Yeah, that's better. But yeah, I saw him as this master of his craft, and I think that he is really great. There are a lot of things about him that I think are very special, for sure. But I also have a lot of criticisms about him. And if you watch my reviews, just go ahead and watch those, because I don't want to delve into them at this point because it would take all day. But my review for Reservoir Dogs, I was pretty clear on a lot of my issues I have with him. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well. So yeah, I'm not going to be as dramatic as in I love them and now I think they're crap, because I typically don't. But there's certain people that I don't romanticize as much to that degree. Have you ever found a movie so distressing in whatever way that you literally wish you hadn't seen it, wish you could remove the thoughts, images from your brain? If so, which one? There's certain Japanese porn that I'd like to erase from my memory. But no, in all seriousness, no, I can't think of any movie like that for me. But that's also because I'm not somebody who's easily, I'm not squeamish, easily offended. I've seen so many really kind of out there sort of experimental projects that, very few things affect me in that way. I certainly... images might stick with me. I might be haunted by them or something like that. Absolutely. But ones where it's like, I absolutely can never watch this again. No, I'm not that kind of person. I'm not that emotionally affected in the way that a lot of people are. A lot of people immerse themselves in the film, whereas I'm kind of, stepping outside of that just naturally as a critic. Though when I was a child, I was scared of everything. Everything. I couldn't watch Thomas the Tank Engine. I couldn't watch Little House on the Prairie or Pooh Bear because every single thing would scare me, and I would go into my mom's room in the middle of the night because I had a nightmare, which is very ironic because now it couldn't be more opposite. I'm very removed typically. Who do you get told you look like the most? Oh my God. I get told I look like all kinds of people all the time, but I think the one I hear the most is Aubrey Plaza. I get that so often, and I don't really see it. I don't get it much at all. I've gotten Olivia Munn a few times. I've gotten Una Chaplin, of course, Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter, and she is the girl in Game of Thrones. I've even gotten Fiona Apple, which is kind of interesting. But so far there, except for Una Chaplin, I can sort of see the resemblance a little bit there, but for the most part, I never really quite got any of them. Are you working off notes or a script when you're doing your reviews, or do you just go unprepared? With my videos, my reviews, yes, I do work off a script. It's like a loose script. It's more kind of just bulleted points that I really want to bring up. Just because before I did that, I used to talk forever and ever, and then as soon as I get to the editing process, I realize, oh my God, I forgot to mention the most important thing. So it just helps me kind of keep myself on track and not leave anything out. Just helps to be more organized for me. Now, when I do these Q&As and when I do my topic videos, no, those are not prepared. The only thing I do is just pull a few of the questions that I think are interesting, and I answer them very off the cuff, and I'm sure it shows because most of my answers are probably complete bullshit. But yeah, that's kind of just how I manage that. If you could saw the top off of any director's head, dead or alive, and tour their mind like a museum, whose would you pick? Noé, Kubrick, or Lynn Ramsey for me? That's a good answer. I mean, there's so many. I would probably go with Alejandro Jodorowsky, just because I think he's one of the most fascinating characters, artists I think I've seen. Just his background is so interesting. I mean, he was raised around performance art, around circus performers. He really comes from the experimental art scene, really from birth. So he has just this incredible point of view and philosophy and freedom of the mind that very few people have, and he expresses it in his films in such a way that is mind-blowing. And so I would love to be in his brain for a little bit. I'd love to be in Orson Welles' mind, of course, just because I think he's one of the most fascinating people of the 20th century, just in terms of innovator, entertainer, thinker. I might go with like Terry Gilliam or Luis Buñuel, people that just have very unique, vivid imaginations, I think. What are you living for? That's a broad question, but I would say I'm living for a lot. I'm living for my family and for my friends, of course, and I'm living for life because life is just so interesting. One minute it is devastating and horrible, and the next it can lift you and be very moving and powerful and beautiful. So life is mixed with so much dark and light and gray that every day it's very interesting to see where it will go, as long as you keep that expectation of knowing that it could fall apart at any point. I think you'll be okay. But in terms of more specifically what I'm living for now, I'm living for making more of the things that I do well, the things that I'm talented in. I was always so afraid to pursue that before, but this year in 2020, I really, as you probably have been able to tell, I've gotten way more invested in YouTube. I've gotten way more invested in stuff like Patreon I began this year. I started doing my art business, as I've already said, and building a website. All of that is stuff that I was terrified to do a year ago, and now it's all kind of coming together, and that has been amazing. So I'm living for that. Living for also making a lot of the things that I do well and maybe making something of it for once in my life, because why not? Why the fuck not? We're all gonna die. Speaking of that, how did you learn how to draw? Did you teach yourself? And if so, what are some great art/drawing books that you've learned from? I don't know how I learned how to draw. I'm self-taught. I started drawing when I was 2, I think. My mom is one of those people who keeps everything that her kids did, every award, every little thing. And she has the very first drawing I ever did at age 2. So yeah, you could tell early on that I had some sort of, I guess, aptitude for it, whatever. But yeah, no, I've just little by little kind of observed how people look and all that. I've had a lot of relatives and friends buy me art books, over the years, especially when I was a kid. But, I don't like to read very much. So I would just kind of go right past all of the text and just copy the pictures. I would draw the still life examples and all of that. So yeah, really, it's something that I've done pretty much all on my own. I don't know anything about classic drawing technique or anything like that. I've seen a lot of artists do all these things. I have no idea what they're doing. So I can't really recommend anything, but I will say this. I had a relative on my dad's side, my dad's sister. When I was a little kid, I got tons of compliments on the artwork, of course, which is great. Of course, I'm not saying it's not, but after a while you start to kind of wish that someone would give you some constructive criticism. But thankfully my dad's side of the family is very kind of to the point, and they're not afraid to criticize you. When I was a little girl, my aunt said, this is really good, but what would make this better? And I was like, yeah, what? So refreshing to hear someone give me a critique. And she's like, when you draw the jaw, there's a line here. Or, like when you draw, there's always lines to distinguish. And there's no line here. It's shadow that creates the contrast here between where the light's hitting it and, of course, the shadow. So she said, maybe focus on that. Stop drawing so many lines and create the lines with shadow with your hand. And I was like, wow, I never considered that. I was like, what, 7 years old or something. And I swear, I still to this day think about that. Even just yesterday, I was drawing a picture for somebody. And I was like thinking that thing that I heard when I was 7. So little things like that, I think have been very helpful. I'm starting to get interested in dance. As a dancer yourself, what would you consider the core principles of the art? And who are your favorite dancers? Yeah, so for me, I'm less interested in technique, but that might be because I haven't taken a class in many years. When I was younger, I was much more interested in posture and creating a perfect line and everything looking perfect and, you know, a turnout and all that. And yeah, all that's very important for your basic fundamentals. But I think now that I'm older, I'm much more interested in just getting in there and feeling it. So for me, the key, again, for myself, I'm not saying this is for everyone, but it's all in the core. Your core has to be very intact and you need to be attuned to every part of your body. And it all comes from here. So all movement is going to stem from what comes in here. That's kind of your balance and your centering. And I think no matter what movement you're doing, whether it's sharp, whether it's more lyrical, all of it builds into the next movement. You're never just kind of stopping here doing this. I see that a lot from dancers, no matter what style they're portraying. And I think it's all just about flow, quick and slow. One movement morphing into the next. That to me is what creates a great dancer. And also being in the moment and really listening to the music. I can't stress that enough. There are so many dancers that I've known in the past who are extraordinary technicians, but you can tell they do not listen to the music. You need to be able to be almost like you're another instrument to the music. You need to be connected to it. And dance really like you're in the moment. I can't stress that enough because so much of what I used to do was very, again, removed and not in the moment. And now I'm trying to do the opposite thing and let loose a little bit. So yeah, that would be my answer to that question. In terms of dancers I really love, I love, honestly, today, like in the current day, I think FKA Twigs is extraordinary. She has a very snaky, almost Mercury-like movement that is very much her own. Like a stripper from the fifth dimension is what I like to say about her. And I very much kind of take a lot of that and try to incorporate it into my own movement because I like very psychedelic movement. I love the idea that human beings can create this sort of abstract form of movement to convey feeling. But I also love great performers like Fred Astaire, I think is one of the great dancers of all time. And like Baryshnikov, I think is absolutely extraordinary. So George Dunn as well. So yeah, there's a lot of amazing people. Who's your favorite comedian? Oh my God. There's a resurgence of comedians now. So I love a lot of comedians. I'm a huge fan of people like John Mulaney. I think he is absolutely fabulous, and I have a weird crush on him, and I'm not sure why, because he's not really my type. I tend to be more into like stoic, more masculine type of men, and he's certainly not that, but he has such a charm about him. He talks like he's writing some sort of nonfiction novella. That kind of 1940s zippy feel that he has to me is very refreshing and interesting, and I just think he's a great, great storyteller. And I adore his comedy. I also love people like Theo Von. That guy he has a mind unlike anyone I have ever heard. Just the things he says are so eccentric and so just like they make you uncomfortable. And even you might be like offended to a degree. And yet you can't help but just burst out laughing. He is absolutely fabulous. I love Bobby Lee. I like people that really stir the pot, where they walk into a room and you really have no idea what the fuck they're gonna do. Bobby Lee is one of those people. Also, one of my friends introduced me to a comedian called Stuart Lee, and I think he might be one of the most brilliant comedians that's working today. He is just so self-aware, and the way that he mocks so much of what comedy is absolutely incredible. I think he has an intelligence that's far beyond the majority of comics today, even the really great ones. I think he is on another level. And of course, I love people like Louis C.K. and George Carlin is maybe one of my all-time favorites. So yeah, that's just an idea of some of the people that I like. If you lived on a desert island and could only have the same one meal for eternity, what food would you choose? That's a really hard one. Oh my God. I'd probably pick something like steak, like a really good rare like ribeye steak or something, but though that might get rich if you eat it every single day. Maybe I'd go with like a fish or something. like a salmon or a sushi would be really good because I love sushi. Pizza, I can almost never get tired of pizza, or a Mexican food dish. I think if there's one cuisine I could eat for the rest of my life, it's Mexican food. Maybe it's partially because of my upbringing and all of that, but it's something I'm just very acquainted with, and it's in my blood. So yeah, maybe something like that. Maybe like a traditional Mexican meal I could eat maybe for the rest of my life, or like pizza or like sushi. Anything like that I think would work. And it looks like that is the end of the questions that I've selected. So thank you guys so much. Again, thank you for all the support. I have 23,000 subscribers now, I believe. So yeah, you guys are amazing, and I can't wait to hear more from you in the future. We'll do more topic videos and reviews and all of that. If you look over here, you will see my Patreon supporters. The link to support that is below. It is holiday season, so if you are a Patreon supporter, I am doing holiday discounts on my commissioned portraits. So if you want more information on that, you can join Patreon below. And yes, I am an artist. I sell commissioned portraits and prints. If that's something you're interested in, let me know. You can email me with questions, and you can also just look at more of that on my website at deepfocuslens.com. I've really enjoyed doing it so far, so I'd love to work with more of you if you're interested. But beyond that, yeah, all my social media information is below. You can watch more videos here, and you can subscribe if you'd like. Catch you next time.